I really feel that after having that waking up moment of being aware of peak oil, that we fall into this depression, which is hard to get out of. And I think that my message would be that it is possible. Peak Moment shows that all these communities all over the United States and the world even are transitioning, are becoming more local, are decreasing the dependence for oil, and that by getting out of debt, by simplifying the life, by decreasing the amount that we purchase, and overall emphasizing community and localization, I think we can merge and we can transition to this new energy level within the United States. I have a great hope that we can make this transition.
Well, I would say if you live in a city and you're able-bodied, sell your car. Don't think about the what ifs or the fear factor of not having a car, because that's what held us back for so long. Is what if the cats get sick? What if our parents get sick? What if this? What if that? And that hasn't happened after a year without our cars. So rent when you need that car and transportation, and save money and live a healthier life.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. I'm in a very simply furnished yet spacious 400 square foot apartment in Midtown Sacramento with my guests, Logan Smith and Tammy Strobel. Thank you for being with us on Peak Moment.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And that apartment, this lovely, lovely apartment, is part of your story of living very simply. I know you're a couple of early 30-somethings, and you've been together 8 years, but you've made a lot of choices that many people may never make, and I expect a lot of people your age haven't made. You're on a different trajectory. How did you get going?
Well, I think in some respects we came to it differently, but together. I would say about 2.5, 3 years ago, I started reading a lot of different materials relating to peak oil, sustainability, and I came across Derrick Jensen's work, and he transformed my world. Like, after reading his books, I just kind of did a flip and thought, what am I doing? What kind of life am I living? Why do I need so much stuff? There has to be a better way, a simpler way to live. So we downsized, became debt-free, and moved into a smaller apartment. And so
in 2.5 years. That's
yeah,
a lot of changes.
a lot of changes.
How did you take the news, the peak oil news, when Tammy brought this?
Well, starting out, we were in a suburban area with 2 cars and everything else. I took it really well. But growing up on a cattle ranch, everything was frugality and the work smarter, not harder, and try and simplify all the way through. However, I came to the peak oil from a different angle. After Hurricane Katrina, I was really nervous that we were unprepared for any kind of emergency. Not necessarily a hurricane in this area, but earthquake, fire, flood. So in one of your episodes, you mentioned Matthew Stein and all of the emergency equipment, getting together a backpack. And we had done that previously, and then stumbled on to Richard Heimberg in Parties Over and Power Down. And that's how I came to be aware of peak oil. And we were reading these books about the same time when we kind of looked at each other to become aware of the situation.
It's funny too, because when he brought up, oh, we should, be prepared for emergencies, I initially resisted. I'm like, oh, we don't need to worry about that. And then after Hurricane Katrina happened, I'm like, well, maybe we do need to worry about that. It's always good to have a go bag just in case.
So you're prepared with that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your go bag,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not living in a suburban place with 2 cars. You made
Right.
some other changes.
Yeah, part of our downsizing process also included selling our cars. So we,
Plural?
yeah.
Whoa,
So-
that's pretty gutsy.
I would say, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were living, I feel like fairly large, not super large, but for us, yeah, we had a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath apartment, 2 cars, spending above our means. And I think selling the cars was probably the hardest part of our downsizing process, but really the best part, because now we bike everywhere, we're healthier, and just happier. So that's a good thing.
You obviously made some changes relative to your economic lives here. What kind of things influenced you to do that?
I think the catalyst, the pivotal change, we were in the depths of depression from learning about peak oil and being worried about our future, and we didn't know how to solve it. We didn't have a solution. We just had this huge question what the future was going to be. And on New Year's Eve, we discovered a YouTube video with Dee Williams and her tiny house. And we just realized that it was a solution for more than just peak oil worries and future worries. It also would help us save money. We were trying to save money for a house, but realized we'd be in debt for the rest of our lives. But these tiny houses were affordable. It lowered and decreased our environmental footprint. And it just solved so many questions that we had, and it just seemed like the icon and the motivation for us to move into acceptance and past bargaining.
So, past bargaining, you're talking about sort of the depression you were feeling. Say a little bit more about, those initial responses inwardly.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if you've read any of Derrick Jensen's work, but it's pretty heart-wrenching and very sad. And I feel like what we've done to the environment and the planet in general is a sad, sad thing. But at the same time, there are so many positive things happening in the world. And I feel like the small house movement is one of those things. And Gregory Paul Johnson has done a tremendous amount of work with his website and kind of promoting the small house movement as a viable means for affordable housing. And that's something that kind of helped me overcome this, slump, I guess, and feeling like I'll never have a house of my own, and sadness for kind of the planet and where we're at politically as well. So.
Yeah, that depression, I think you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first realized that peak oil says we're going to be down, less energy, which touches everybody's lives, you gotta juggle with that. How'd you do that, Logan?
The depression is overwhelming because it felt like an unsolvable question. It felt like a test was coming that I wasn't prepared for, and that dream that everyone has about being caught unprepared for some test. And it just overwhelming. You feel personally responsible, but then you don't have a solution. Part of the bargaining, going through the bargaining process, was to find a solution, to look for something. We had this endpoint. We had the tiny house. We knew that was the solution, but we didn't know how to get there. We were $30,000 in debt from student loan, from the car payments, from all of that. And we didn't know how to get out of debt. We didn't know how to move on. And we didn't know how to deal with peak oil, frankly, emotionally or anything. We were looking for some contacts with people and a method by which to get out. And I discovered your show, and that actually helped us learn that there was other people out there struggling with this, and to hear real people talk about it in a community setting, in a personal setting, in a family setting. It was really comforting, and it brought us out of that depression. And then learning about Your Money, Your Life, also from your show. And additionally, Tammy found another reference in a book on simplifying our lives. We came to read Your Money, Your Life text, and that gave us the means and the method to get ourselves out of debt. We're completely debt-free now. And yes, it's significant.
Exciting.
That is a huge accomplishment, to be that much out of debt. So, Your Money or Your Life, Joe Dominguez's book with Vicki Robin. Sounds like you really stuck to it and pared away a lot. That's part of what you have you do, is pay attention to where's your money going, and does it give you satisfaction?
Yeah.
Immense satisfaction. We've now not only paid off our debt, but saved enough for a tiny house. And that is a significant accomplishment for us. It really helps us plan and really helps us. We fight a lot less now too,
Yes.
without the money worries being a problem. And simplifying without the cars, there's another side of the equation that a lot of people don't factor in, is that you don't always have to work harder and make more money. You can always spend less.
Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty un-American, however, or at least it's not our traditional American approach that the media gives us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
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 I mean, here in Midtown, I see you're a lovely little neighborhood, and you can bike everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful area, and I feel like a lot of folks think we're crazy to not have a car, and that's okay. And I also feel like we're very privileged to lead this lifestyle. We're both able-bodied. We don't have disabilities. We're not in a rural area, but there are millions of people who live in cities, and selling your car is a viable way to get out of debt and kind of simplify your life and just kind of be more healthy. And I think you don't have to be a crazy environmentalist to sell your car. I mean, for us, of course, I consider myself an environmentalist, but at the same time, it's nice to have extra money every month. So it's kind of looking at your bottom line. Do you want to spend an extra $600 a month when you can get around by bike, or do you want to save it? So it's kind of looking at maybe that trade-off as well.
You've done, part of what the book, I remember, because it changed our lives too, is have you look at what matters to you, and that's where you want to put most of your money.
Mm-hmm.
And what I hear is the tiny house idea, which still makes it possible for you to have your own house, though tiny, and living in this apartment as practice for that, gave you the carrot, something to look forward to, that you needed, in addition to going through all the downsides of the depression, of realizing that we're all killing the planet. That's Derrick's message. Industrial society is killing the planet.
Yeah.
How do your families and friends take your path? What do they think about what you're doing?
Well, it's interesting because initially it was a lot of like, oh, what are you guys doing? Are you crazy? And now that, 2.5 years later, they see where we're at with happier lives, we're healthier, we've saved an incredible amount of money. I mean, you can't really argue with that. And so now they're like, well, maybe they're all right. So, and that's not to say that all our family was negative about our choices, but some were, which made it hard. So.
Because you want support
Yeah.
for where your path is. And actually, I'd see you as path breakers, pioneers here. Particularly, what concerns me is folks in your generation, folks that are younger than you are. How receptive do you find them to the notion of peak oil, which is what got you started, and Derrick Jensen that got you started? Are you finding that most of them are responsive or don't want to hear it, or what do you find?
I find that they are responsive, however, they slip into denial very easily. It's something that they are very engaged in, something that they agree with, but as soon as they walk outside and get in their car, they forget about it. It's that necessity is there, and people feel that they need oil, and I feel that we don't need oil, but we depend on oil, and there's a unique difference between those two. We can live without oil. We need water, we need food, we need sleep, we need companionship. However, when you look at the hierarchy of needs, oil isn't among them. It's a dependence.
That's really interesting. So that means we have to find our way out of that dependence. I mean, right now we depend on oil, but we also depend on electricity. And we do love the internet and cell phones and so on. So do you envision, when you envision your future, or our shared future, maybe I should ask that, but in your tiny house, what else do you picture? Do you have a sense of what may unfold and what you hope for in that next 20 years?
You can't really say what will happen, but what I hope to see is more I guess relocalizing, more community building. You know, I run all the time around Sacramento and I see lots of vacant lots, and I think, how perfect would this be for little tiny houses or tiny communities or community gardens, things like that. And so I hope that there'll be better land use policies, and really that we can share more and be a community versus always focusing on the individual and having to do things by yourself. And it's kind of a different perspective than, I guess, traditional American culture, because we tend to be based on the individual, not community, it seems like.
We've generally adopted John Michael Greer's perspective on the long descent, that it won't be an apocalypse, and it won't necessarily be this other myth-based result, that it's going to be a general and gradual transition to a lower energy infrastructure. America's wealth is in our cars and in the freeways and all the systems that we use that are oil-based, and it's going to take a lot, but I think that is going to be a gradual transition over our entire lifespan and on.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's part of why peak oil, struck a lot of us, is this is going to change things pretty radically, even though our political folks haven't quite caught on quite yet, it seems. And the economic dropping is, drawing a lot of our attention. Maybe that's where it begins, actually. When you picture your tiny house and your own future, do you have dreams of where you might live or what you might do? We haven't talked about what your interests are with others, other children. What do you picture?
Eventually, we've thought about moving to Portland because it's a beautiful city and so bike friendly. But we've also thought about moving back to his family's cattle ranch in Northern California. It would be perfect for our tiny house. We wouldn't have to worry about zoning requirements and such like we do here. So that's an option that we've talked about. But we do enjoy city life, so that's hard to give up right now, I think.
And I believe we're looking for community. If anything has taught us that about watching your show, it's that we need to find a community that is complementary to our goals and to our lifestyle. And that is really what we want to search out, to find a community. Maybe a community of tiny houses, or maybe at least a community that will allow us to have this small home, allow us to contribute through. I would like to teach in a graduate program currently, and I'd like to teach at a variety of levels, and I've been trying to build up some peak oil skills like bicycle maintenance and that sort of thing, something that I can barter with in the future.
Now that's a whole other area that I obviously think about is those skills that you have to offer to your community. That's really, really smart.
He's better with that than I am, getting the bicycle maintenance stuff down. I can knit and garden, kind of, so I'm working on that.
But you're also interested in photography. I mean, it seems to me that certainly we're going to have to deal with the necessities like accumulating our water and growing food and so on, and that's where people pay attention first. But it's not just bread. We need the roses too, and we need music and the other things that you're cultivating. So I hope that the richness that you bring will reach other people's lives as well.
I hope so too. And I've been blogging for about 2 years and talking about our journey, and so that's been really fun.
Tell us what your blog is.
My blog is Rowdy Kittens. And
Rowdy Kittens?
Yes. I talk about social change through simple living on the blog, and I've met an incredible community of fellow bloggers, and we've developed a collaborative writing project called the Small Living Journal, and it's a great resource if you're looking to downsize and thinking maybe about a tiny home or just kind of moving into a smaller place. So, and we talk about peak oil and sustainability and things outside just tiny homes too. So
and maybe how you got debt free. I mean, that's such a radical step. What kinds of things have you learned from them? that have come into your lives?
Learn
From others on your blog,
the
the socials, the Small Living Journal, or the...
An incredibly amazing community in the online world, that we're not alone in looking at small homes. It's amazing how popular small living has become. There's quite a big following. In California alone, I believe there's about 6 or 8 independent manufacturers of small homes now, whereas 10 years ago there might have been 1, actually probably 0 in California.
It's really incredible. And one of my friends, Ken, he's a tiny house blogger, and he's the tiny house blog. You can Google that, but he has a wealth of resources about different builders and options and things like that. So it's just incredible. Like, it's real. The movement's growing, and I think as a result of the subprime mortgage crisis, I'm hoping that we'll see a change in policies and kind of zoning requirements, and maybe folks at the local level and state levels throughout the country will let tiny houses be built. That would be nice to see as an affordable housing solution. So.
And through this journal, it's very empowering in that you see these people building their own shelter. You see people going back to this barn raising type of an approach, where they build it within a community, where people come together and build this small structure. And it being so small, it actually can go up relatively quickly, within only a few weeks, depending on the amount of labor that you have on the home.
I think that the creativity is going to be wonderful to see, to be appropriate, right, to the resources and our needs and our lifestyles. So in our last 5, 6, 7 minutes, I want to make sure to let you have the chance, in your story, is there anything else we haven't touched on, anything you dream of, what inspires you? Just give you your last little time here.
I think if there are any young people out there that want to learn about how to downsize, how to get out of debt, all of that, there are quite a few ideas that they can take away from this presentation. That is, one, Your Money, Your Life is an incredible resource to learn about money and what money is, and to be able to get yourself out of debt. But also there are other forms of money. There are other economic outlets, alternative economies. One is bartering. Another is buying food and having a food supply, a large pantry. Some grains like wheat and beans and some of these other hard grains can, when stored properly, last 20 to 30 years. So it's an investment in food that way. Instead of having this cash money, you get into a more stable income source, and that way you can depend on that in case inflation goes up, or you have worries about the rising dollar, or thinking about going into gold or something else. It's food, you can always eat your investment there. And as an example, as far as investments, we purchased our bulk food supply in the summer of 2007, and by the winter of 2007 into January 2008, wheat prices had doubled, and the price of that kit that we had purchased for that bulk food kit with the buckets and everything of grains had doubled. So we got 100% return on our investment.
Anywhere and have the security.
Right. I mean, if I was laid off from my job, or if Logan were, we would be able to eat, and that's a good thing. So I don't think your money has to go in the stock market or the bonds or whatever. There are other options too to think about. So it might sound crazy to some, but I feel wealthy when there's more food around. I don't know, it's nice to have security.
I think that security is what a lot of people are going to be making choices for. Store your water. Go ahead.
And sell your TV is the biggest thing that really happened to us.
Sell the TV.
It takes a transition. We still watch movies on our notebook computers, but really selling the TV helped wean us off of advertising. We started wanting a lot less. We started simplifying. And we really were able to shed ourselves of a lot of the consumer culture. We're still participants in that, but we're less so. And one of the major media by which we identify with consumer culture is through the television and all the commercials and seeing what other people are wearing and what gadgets they're carrying around and that sort of thing.
So it kind of cuts your desire
Correct.
for those things.
I mean, you can never escape advertising fully, but selling the TV was such an empowering thing because I started reading more and I started reading Derrick Jensen's books and things I don't think I would have touched had I had the TV.
And talking to our neighbors
talking to
and
each
taking
other,
walks in the
imagine.
evening.
So
It sounds like a cliche, but it really, really helped us transition.
Well, that's really what matters is what works. That's what really I think that folks are looking for, like you were looking for and have found a lot of. Are you looking for something next? Is there something that's still got a little itch?
I'm looking to graduate. I hope to be out of my PhD program by December, by this winter. So in the last 5 months, I hope to wrap up. And once we're through with that, then that can liberate us to either stay in this community or actually provide a larger income as well. Won't be a grad student anymore. And
That's a good goal.
hopefully it won't hurt our frugality, but we've learned a lot from me being a grad student and having a lower income availability. But we're looking forward to something different.
You're paying your dues right
Yeah.
now. It seems like you're getting all your preparations prepared, together.
and we're happy where we are. We live in a great community. I have a good job, and so you can't really ask for more. And good family. We have each other, so life is good.
I'm so glad. I think there are going to be a lot of young people. I hope there are a lot of young people who, in listening to your story, say, some lights go on to say, oh, that's possible. I can shape my life much as you have in ways that are empowering and make you look forward to a future even in the midst of energy decline. Because what I hear you saying is, we'll find a way.
Yeah,
We've done it.
Yep.
We can keep
it's
doing it.
possible.
Absolutely.
I think there's lots of positive things going on besides negative.
Thank you, because after one reads Derrick Jensen, you kind of don't know. Bless his heart. So I wish you the best. I'm going to be looking forward to having, every few years we'll come back and do a Peak Moment show and see what's happening now. Thank you. You're watching Peak Moment, conversations about our future energy situation. And I'm with Logan Smith and Tammy Strobel. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Join us next time.